In case version 2.1 didn't have enough amazing characters to pull for like Acheron and Aventurine, we also are going to be having Jingliu's Rerun banner during the second half of 2.1 here. So today I want to go over her kit and really just see how much value she's going to have for players to pull on. And spoiler alert, in all honesty, she is absolutely valuable even if you do have Acheron. So starting out here with Jingliu's kit. Now, since I actually do have Jingliu, I can talk about it in game here. She has a very powerful kit overall. So starting out here, not really gonna even talk about her basic attack because you're never going to basic attack with Jingliu, to be completely honest. Because a lot of her value is gonna come from her skill and her talent here. So starting out with her skill is gonna be able to deal ice damage to a single enemy and will also give her 1 stack of Syzygy. These stacks of Syzygy are very important because they're going to help her achieve her spectral transmigration state, which we'll go over in her talent. And I'll circle back to this enhanced basic attack because that also has to deal with the spectral transmigration. Then for Jingliu's ultimate, she'll deal ice damage to a single enemy and then also a smaller amount of damage to adjacent enemies, which is just going to be really nice to get a lot of damage in. Now, going into her talent now, which is, I think, the biggest part of her kit when it comes to her overall value. So when she gets 2 stacks of Syzygy, which she'll also get a stack from the ultimate there, didn't mention that. Whenever she gets 2 stacks, she's going to enter the Spectral Transmigration state, which is really going to give her a nice power boost because of some of the things it does. So firstly, it's going to advance her action by 100%. Which means that as soon as you go into the state, she will immediately act again, which will be very good considering that you're more than likely going to achieve this state by using her skill. So being able to skill and then get another skill off, which is where we have the enhanced skill right here, which basically makes her skill into a blast attack, so she'll attack the main enemy and then adjacent enemies as well. And instead of gaining the stack of Syzygy, she will lose a stack of Syzygy. But instead of using, she'll use the stack of Syzygy instead of using skill points, which is really nice to, make her not as intensive on using skill points compared to a lot of other DPS characters in the game. But yeah, that's one thing. She gets that guaranteed action, which is very nice. Secondly, at trace level 10, she gets a crit rate increase of 50%, and having that much extra crit rate is pretty huge because that's 50%, not even including like relic substats or anything. So because of that, unlike a bunch of DPSs where if you don't get like that great like substats on your relics, you have to run a crit rate piece for your body. But because Jingliu is getting herself so much, I think you can easily get like maybe like 25, 30, 35% crit rate from like substats and be fine. So Jingliu is able to run crit damage, which just makes her damage go absolutely insane. Like if we look at my build here, I'm like, sure I have the signature light cone, but even without it, I'd still be over 200% crit damage, which is pretty insane, honestly. So yeah, that's really powerful. Then, as I said already, the skill is enhanced, and so it'll be a blast effect, which is only, you're only able to use the enhanced skill during the spectral transmigration state, so that is also important to keep in mind. Then in the state to further buff her even more, whenever she uses her enhanced skill or her ultimate, she will drain 4% of all of her allies' HP, and thankfully it can't kill her allies, so it will stop at 1 HP, but she'll sap this HP from them to further increase her attack based on the HP that's consumed, at a cap of 180% of her base attack. And it only, this boost only lasts for the current attack that she's doing, which makes sense because if it stacks for like even longer than that, it'd be super broken because she does a lot of damage already. So yeah, this is very nice. It makes her pair really well with a lot of healers because they are able to keep the team alive so that Jingliu can keep taking their HP. So there is definitely some synergy there. And also an important thing to note too is the sort of last big change of the spectral transmigration state. Jingliu's maximum Syzygy stacks increase from 2 to 3. So a very common strategy is to, if you get her ultimate before you go into the spectral transmigration state, a common strategy is to actually save it, because if you use the skill and then go into the state, you can ult and get that bonus of the extra attack. Plus, you get the enhanced skill right afterwards, so you just get a lot more damage out of it that way. Plus the increased crit rate, because both without the state and running a crit damage body, you're just not going to have enough crit rate to consistently crit when you're not in her transmigration state. Then, to move on to her technique here, she has the dimension technique, and she basically puts like an icy field around her, where any enemy that you hit with the field has will become frozen as well. In the overworld, and when you start battle, they do have a 100% base chance of being frozen, and it also does give her 15 energy at the start of the battle, which is also really nice, and also an extra stack of synergy. So starting out with this and then doing one skill will automatically put you into the spectral transmigration state, which is very nice, honestly. And of course, you can only use one dimension at a time, so if you're running other dimension characters, that could be a little annoying, but her technique is very good to get you to that spectral transmigration state faster, because the most you can, maximize the uptime of that state, the better for you. Then now to go over her traces. Her first trace here, when she's in the spectral transmigration state, she gets 35% effect res, which is really nice, honestly, just to avoid getting CC'd. If you're running some of those characters like Fu Xuan or Huo Huo who deal with CC very easily for the team, this might not be as valuable. But if you are running some other cleansers or just sustains in general, if they don't have as if it's not as consistently able to cleanse you, or if they don't have a cleanse at all, this can be very nice to just lower the chances of you being caught in a situation where you can't do anything because of CCs. Then next up, after she uses her regular skill, she gets an action advance of 10%, which is it's a small amount, but it could be nice to just get her to act just a little bit sooner to be able to get into the spectral transmigration state. So this can definitely be helpful in some situations, but it's not going to be like the craziest thing in the world. And then lastly, for her final major trace, when she's in the spectral transmigration state, she gets 20% ultimate damage, which further, builds on the fact of saving her ultimate until you get into the state, and then you launch it, not only to get that extra attack boost from the talent, but also to get this 20% ultimate damage increase from the trace here. Then for her stat one, she has some speed, which is very nice. She has crit damage, and then HP is, it's kind of whatever, but she is destruction, so she is, she's not like a squishy like other Hun and Erudition DPSs are, which is very nice for her. So yeah, that is her kit here. So now to move on to her banner. She definitely does have not the best banner, in all honesty. It is going to be the same banner as Aventurine, and yeah, starting out here with, I think the only character that I think has some decent synergy with her is going to be Lynx. So Lynx is, pretty solid healer. She works very well with destruction characters just because of the synergy of her increasing the aggro on them through her survival response, and with her skill and everything. So Lynx can be very good there. Plus also that increased aggro will allow them to hit Jingliu more, and thus Jingliu will be able to get some more energy and maybe get a bit extra uptime when it comes to her spectral transmigration state. Plus with Lynx being a healer as well, she can keep the team alive as Jingliu is sapping their HP away, so that is very good as well. Then the other two characters on the banner, firstly is Luca. Luca and Jingliu are not going to have much synergy because of just the different types of roles they play. Jingliu is mainly going to be either a hyper carry team or a duo DPS with Blade. And you're not really going to be running Luca on those kinds of teams because he's more so going to be a dot or break team character. But if your other team is running dot or break and you need a physical coverage, Luca can be very solid as well. He can do a lot of damage. Then lastly for the banner we have Serval, who once again, because she is also a DPS kind of character, there's not too much synergy between them, but if you do need a lightning or a shock option for dot teams, even beyond Kafka, then Serval could be useful for you as well. But this banner overall just doesn't have as much synergy with Jingliu herself to make too many of the characters worth it. Lynx is way more worth it than Luca and Serval, and getting Eidolons for Lynx is going to be very good, especially since we do get her for free from Pure Fiction. So every player will be able to get Lynx, so any Lynxes you pull here will pretty much just be Eidolons to make your healing and sustain even better. So now to ask the important question, is Jingliu still worth pulling? And I think even though Acheron's out, even though so many people pulled for Acheron, Jingliu is still super worth it. Because I know a lot of people are going to be like, I have Acheron, so, you know, I'm unstoppable in the game because Acheron is broken. Acheron's broken, but Jingliu is number 2 in the game, in my opinion at least. It's either her or Viper de Lune as the sort of big 3 of DPSs. And just because Acheron is like super broken, definitely don't underestimate Jingliu, because Jingliu was basically uncontested in like top 1, top 2 in the game until Acheron came out. And I do think that with the insane amount of power that those 3 DPSs bring, you know, Jingliu, Acheron, and Viper de Lune, it's going to be a while until they are truly power crept to the point where they might start to lose value. And I do also like the fact of the extra crit rate that you can get from Jingliu's talent, because it is going to allow you to run a crit damage body, which is a very nice thing. Usually for other DPSs, you can really only run a crit damage body if you are getting enough crit rate from other sources. And the fact that she can get 50% just for free in her Spectral Transmigration state, it makes the crit rate requirement a lot lower for relics, and it allows you to just pour more of that into crit damage and just boost her up that way. Plus also with her having a good attack as well, she'll be able to do a ton of damage. And also the fact that she doesn't use too many skill points is also, I think, going to be pretty valuable for players, especially if you're running hyper carry, because you could focus more of those skill points onto your supports. Like if you're running Ting Yun, something I do very often is I'll run Rerun Mei and Ting Yun with my Jingliu, and I would just spam Ting Yun's skill regardless of if it's up or not, just to make sure that I'm getting as much energy for her as I can, so that I can battery Jingliu and keep her in the Spectral Transmigration state as much as possible. So yeah, overall, I do think that if you are looking for an ice DPS or just like a strong DPS in general, whether or not you have Acheron, because at the end of the day, you are going to need 2 teams for MOC and Pure Fiction, right? And I do think Jingliu can perform well in both of them. She can definitely clear it. She's been clearing it for me ever since I got her. And she is definitely going to be a very powerful character to add to your account. So let me know in the comments down below if you're going to be pulling for Jingliu. If you're going to be pulling for her light cone as well, which is also very good for her. But yeah, with that, I'm going to end off the video here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.